Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I am back with you with another video that is a challenge for myself with myself, and it was shooting a full swimwear editorial using a film camera. So those of you who have been with me for a while know that I'm not particularly familiar with film photography in general. I don't feel particularly comfortable with it. I've never really particularly tried it, so it was just something that I always wanted to play around with but never really got the opportunity. I did have previous attempts at using film cameras and it usually ended up in failure. Prior to this shoot, shot 2 rolls of film and they both turned out blank because it turns out that I loaded the film incorrectly. So it was quite a scary thing to do. So even though the predominant idea for this video was to just shoot film and kind of show you photos afterwards, as I said, to be perfectly honest, I didn't trust myself enough to not fuck it up. So I thought it might be better to just take photos on both mediums and compare it for you so you can have a look and see how does it look, film versus digital when I do it myself. Because it's different when you have 2 different photographers, different eyes and so on. But in this case, I was using both mediums on similar settings, if not the same settings, and I want to show you my experience. It was definitely my best roll of film I have done yet. I'm very impressed with myself. Andrea has quite a lot of experience with shooting film because she shoots with one of my photographer friends a lot, and he shoots exclusively film, so that was a good thing to have a model that has an experience with that and knows how to pose for film, because it is a bit different than just shooting digital. So because I was shooting film and I wanted to get as much, preparation done as possible and the best shot I can in the camera, I used my usual body spray that I use all the time on my beach shoots. So we lathered it all over our model to make her nice and glossy. We glazed her like a donut basically. And we made sure that, her face is nice and dewy. She had this beautiful golden tan, so it was like a really nice complexion. It always looks really good in photos, and it came true really nicely on film as well as on the digital, so I was delighted with that. Okay, so I'll just take my first photo on my analog. I metered with Canon. It's kind of looking like I should be shooting on 7.1, but I want to make it a bit darker because I find with this camera you always have to go kind of almost like a 1 f-stop darker to kind of get the right exposure. So I'm going to be on 1,000th of a second, f8, and we'll see how it goes. The light is still quite strong, so it's kind of an interesting experiment to see. So out of my very limited experience shooting with this camera and with the photos that actually turned out okay and the film that was actually loaded properly, I found that I always had to shoot a stop higher than the Canon reading was showing me, because otherwise the photos would come out too bright on film. And that's a big one because it's much easier to recover details from the darks rather than trying to save an image that is overexposed, I found personally. Okay, so actually 1 second, I forgot that I'm shooting an ISO 116 at ISO 1. Should be okay, but it might be a bit bright. I might actually go 500 and that. Okay, cool. So 1, 2, 3. For this particular shoot, I decided it would be a smarter idea to shoot in the afternoon towards the sunset, just because the light would be slightly bit softer. When we started, the light was still quite harsh. I think it was around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but I knew it was going to start softening very soon. So I just wanted to kind of start out, get the kind of harsher sun shots, and then kind of continue onto the sunset. So 2 things that I find really tricky shooting with the analog camera is obviously not seeing your images. That's definitely a tricky one because you don't really know what you're getting. And the second one was just trying to find the right focus point and making sure that when you take the photo, the model doesn't blink. So midway through our shoot, we had a little visitor. It was a cat that was a beach cat because he goes with his owner to the beach and hangs out with him, which is absolutely amazing. I've never seen anything like that. But anyway, so we got some nice photos. I was trying to, imitate that really candid style, and I got this really cool shot where Andrea was petting the cat, or trying to pet the cat. He wasn't particularly friendly when it came to, you know, taking photos. He was not particularly interested because he was a cat. So for this particular shoot, I used my PORTRA 160 color film. It's one of my favorite films. However, I do find that sometimes it can turn out quite greenish when you develop it. So I used some of my presets to kind of balance the colors and make it look a bit more goldeny and kind of match it more to what I like and what my aesthetics are. Because I do like my magenta in my photos. And I think it turned out really, really well. It actually matches really close to my digital photos, which I'm really proud of, because as I said, I am a completely unexperienced film shooter, and something like that is just amazing for me, where I can match, you know, the two together and kind of make it look somehow similar and somehow a part of the story. So I was really, really delighted with the results. Now that the sun is going a bit lower, I'm going to try and shoot backlit. I'm changing my settings to 5.6, 500th of a second, and we'll see how it goes. I find the more I shoot with film, I get more and more adventurous when it comes to my framing and when it comes to my composition, and, you know, maybe breaking the rules a bit, shooting against the light, shooting during sunset, which was obviously a bit nerve-wracking because the light goes away quite quickly and it changes quite quickly. So you have to work fast and you have to make sure that you have to have the right settings, because if you push the camera too low, you are going to get a really dark image, but if you go too much in the other way, it's going to be too bright. So you just never know, and because you only work with so few images, it's very, very easy to go wrong. So 1, 2, 3. Cool. As the sun started setting, I decided to push my camera up to 1.8, which was a bit of a risk because, as I said, I do have major issues with focusing on this camera. It's really, really difficult. It's hard to see. My eyesight is not A+ either. It is getting a bit bad. So sometimes it's really, really hard to tell when you're in focus and when you're not. I personally find the more I shoot film, the more I like it. I find it's more of a hobby for me nowadays, where I kind of really enjoy not really seeing what I shoot on the day and then, you know, getting the images developed and only seeing them a few days later. It's kind of like a nice surprise element, almost like a little present for yourself, where you get the photos back and you look through them and you see nice images that you pretty much forgot about, you know, because it's been a few days or a few weeks or whatever. And it's just a really, really nice experience, I find. Even if the photos don't turn out great, even if it's, you know, questionable, I think it's still kind of nice, and it does teach you to slow down a lot and to look at things with different perspective and just kind of step outside your comfort zone. Oh, the end of the roll. That was the last shot without even realizing. I finished on 1.8, 500th of a second. So there should be some good depth of field. We'll see if I sharpened it correctly or not. But yeah, it was a good experience. I'm dying to see the images and see if they turned out nice or not. So overall, I definitely recommend for you guys to try and shoot some film and see how it goes, even when you're on a shoot, you know, just to kind of play around and experiment. I find it really opened my eyes to different, you know, frames and different shots and different possibilities, because it slows you down and makes you think about the shots, and it makes you think about what's the best shot possible for this particular photo and frame. So it definitely makes you think a bit more about what you're doing and how you're doing it and what's your settings and so on. So there's definitely a bit more thinking involved, which I think is really, really great when you take photos, because you have to stop and think rather than just pointlessly, you know, kind of aim and shoot.
Nervous?
No. Quite confident that I rolled the film correctly for once. And it's loaded. Okay guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed our little challenge with Andrea. Make sure to check out her Instagram and give her a follow because she's amazing. And I hope the photos turned out okay. I will obviously know by the time the video goes up, but that's a different one. Anyway, if you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.